I just want to do an overview of what it takes to install the heated grips on the V85TT. And then if somebody doesn't want to watch the whole video, at least you have most of the information. So first of all, you're going to remove the seat. In order to do so, there is a spot for your key right here. Put your key in there, it'll pop the seat off. From there, you're going to need to remove this ring right here. This just pops off here, it pulls up, little rubber gasket. And then you're going to take off this plastic piece here. So there's a couple screws down here to take out, and then that'll pop up. To remove the tank, there's two bolts here and one back here, and you're not removing the tank, you're just sliding it back a little bit so you can get access to these plastic panels right here on both sides. Not this one, but this one up here. So with the tank slid back, it's this screw right here that you can get to, but it's hard to get this off without breaking it. So you gotta take out 1, 2, 3, and then there's a fourth screw on the other side, on the back side of this. And then this is all one piece, this will come off. Your connectors are right in here, both your Molex plugs. You can see my wires kind of sticking out a little bit right there. So from there, you've got access to the connectors. After that, you're gonna pull off your handguards and your mirror. So this piece slides up on your mirror, you can unthread it. On the end here, you've got an Allen. This comes off, and then there's a big bar plug here. I used a crescent wrench to take that off, I think. You can see the threads there. And then you'll have access to your grips. I left my throttle tube on the bike because I went with the Oxford grips. If you're putting on factory Moto Guzzi grips, you will need to take the throttle assembly off the bike because it is integrated, I believe. So I used compressed air, just a little air blowgun to get inside here and blow, break the seal of the glue in the grip. You can pull your grips off, and then you can start the install process. So the throttle tube on the Moto Guzzi is plastic, and the Oxford grips have a plastic liner. So I actually sanded down my throttle tube and then heated up the Oxford liner with a heat gun, and then I was able to slide them together fairly easy. After that, basically route your wires. These are reusable, super nice, so just unhook those, route your wires down into this region here, and then build your little jumper wires. So I don't have the wires out, but so I built jumpers to go from the Oxford grips into the factory Molex connectors. Basically all I did is I just cut nothing on the bike I cut the harness for the Oxford grips and then spliced a Molex end on it. This enabled me to plug right into the factory Moto Guzzi plugs. And then I didn't have to do any programming or anything like that. I just plugged it in and the bike recognized the grips. And you'll see right here when it turns on. I now have the heated grip icon. Before I had the heated grips, that icon wasn't there, but I didn't do any programming. They just simply, the bike just simply recognized them. And then it works with the factory heated grip button right here. Push the button and you can see the grips turn on. So overall, not a bad install at all. My advice would be don't drop these bolts. They're way down here. So what I did is I just gently taped them to my ratchet socket and reached in there. The other thing is there's screws right here to take this off. You got an Allen screw on both sides. So take those out, this will pop right off. Don't drop those bolts. Make your jumper wires a little longer if you can. Mine are only a few inches, and if they were longer, these wires would tuck up nicer. So maybe do like 6 or 8 inches. But other than that, pretty straightforward. You don't have to disconnect any gas lines or anything like that. So overall, pretty painless process. A little time consuming, but just take your time and it should go pretty well. I'll put links to the connectors I used and the grips I used. Okay, so to do the heated grip install on the V85TT. You'll need a set of heated grips. I chose to go with the Oxford Premium Heated Touring Grips. You could use the Moto Guzzi heated grips too. I read reviews that just say they're not as hot as people would like them, so that's why I chose to go with the Oxfords. You could also go with other brands, but for this install I use the Oxfords. Drink of choice, I prefer coffee. If you use the Oxfords, these are the factory grips, you won't need the wiring harness to the battery. You also won't use their controller. I did use the glue. You'll need some Molex connectors. These are off Amazon. I'll put links to all this stuff, but these are 3.68 millimeter. You're going to use this side of them. You will need a wire cutter and crimper, a couple zip ties just to hold up wires, a 5 millimeter Allen key to take off your bar end pieces, a 4 millimeter Allen. I used it on a ratchet to get the bolt out of the plastic piece by your key switch, a T25, I believe, T25 for the 4 screws holding the plastic around the wiring harness, 8 millimeter to get the 3 tank bolts out, your keys to take your seat off. I used some dielectric grease just to help seal up the connection. If you want to adjust your mirrors when you put it back together, 2 crescent wrenches. A magnet's a good idea to have on hand. I did lose a bolt and got it with the magnet. And then I use sandpaper to sand my plastic throttle tube down for the grips to fit better. I used 60 grit and then 220 grit to smooth it out. And then I also used a heat gun to heat up the throttle side, because the Oxford grips use the plastic tube inside of their grip. So I heated up the Oxford grip and then slid it over the plastic throttle tube, which seemed to work just fine. So that's everything you need. Not a whole lot, pretty basic tools. Yeah, so hopefully this is informative and helped the next person with their install. Okay, learning experience. So to put the tank back on, you gotta put these bolts down in there, but you can't quite get them with your fingers. I haven't figured out the solution yet, but do not drop these things. It just goes into this black abyss. Luckily, with the magnet tool, just feeling around, I was able to get it. But I know there's another YouTuber that dropped their bolt down there and took them like 3 hours to take the bike apart. So I think I'm gonna tape it to my ratchet because I don't have a magnetic ratchet. But be very careful, don't drop your bolt down there.